is Behind the Mic. Local and worldwide interviews with athletes, entertainers, and you. A talk show that will engage, inform, and take you to the edge, maybe even over. Now, from the Big Z studios in suburban Chicago, here's the host of Behind the Mic, Gary Zahara.
Last time I spoke to my guest was back in 2012 when he took the reins of the Iowa Barnstormers of the watered-down Arena Football League. During his weekly rush appearances on my talk show Sportsline, we talked about just the game. Tonight, I sit down with the husband, father, grandpa, and mentor. Mike Hohensee joins me behind the mic. Next.
Brought to you by Team Keys and your financial services division manager, Whitley Brooks Edmunson, and Slugmaster, turning batters into hitters. Log on to slugmaster.com for a dealer near you.
His career spans 48 years, from youth to the pros, 21 as a head coach in the AFL, including 9 with the Hometown Rush. Inductions in the Mount San Antonio Junior College Hall of Fame, Minnesota Golden Gopher Sports Hall of Fame, and the Arena Football Hall of Fame. A former Bears quarterback and the last head coach to win a football championship in the city of Chicago. Please welcome behind the mic, Mike Hohensee. Hey, Mike, how are you, my friend?
That's great. I'm doing great, man. I think that's the first time I've heard it put that way.
Can you believe that? Yeah, you're the last coach to bring a title to Chicago. Man, it's been that long. So,
yeah.
And in 2006, when you won the title, Bears before you lost the Super Bowl in Indianapolis in February. So,
yeah.
How's everything going? You're looking good, sir.
Let's go. I feel good. I feel good. I've been busy.
Yeah,
I'm in my lane, if you might want to say.
You're in your battle stance. I saw that on some of your videos. I'll ask you about that.
Battle stance is good.
Yeah.
Battle stance, yeah. We got to be ready.
That's right.
No doubt about it.
You know what? I'm watching your videos, and it's just like back at the Allstate Arena when I would talk to you either after the game or in the huddle or see what you're doing. It seems like you were really in your element. Okay, 12 years since you and I spoke. You were in Iowa coaching the Barnstormers, and then you ended it, I believe, in purgatory in Portland, and your last AFL stint. When you left Portland, were you burned out at that point?
I don't know if I was ever burnt out. I didn't like what arena football was at that time. The ownership attitude was different. The caliber of player was a little different. Not that they didn't have that same passion, but you get what you pay for a lot of times in life, and I didn't know that till I had money. And we just weren't able to go out there and attract the same caliber of players. Yeah, we got effort, we got the same effort, but man, when you're used to guys like Scipio and Eddie Brown, unbelievable football players, it's a different world. And I think there was just a little bit of different commitment from the players as well. I don't think they were as committed. I think they said the right things. But as a whole, I don't think they were as committed as the guys that came before them.
And that's a question I'll ask you later on. I've got that lined up on what the difference was. But let's start at the beginning. Talk about the journey of a 6-foot Japanese kid from Inglewood, California, on his way to Mount San Antonio, all the way to Minnesota, Golden Gopher setting college records. Talk about that journey.
The Japanese kid, it's funny you say that. I didn't find out till I was 31 years old that I was Japanese.
Really?
That it was Hohensee was an adopted name.
Okay.
My name should have been Suzuki. And, I don't know if that Japanese kid would have got the same opportunities that the Hohensee kid did. You know what I mean? They might have told me, go play ping pong, go do something like that. Maybe you'll be good at that, as opposed to, being the quarterback of their program. And I think it's funny how life is. You know what I mean? That came about. I did have a different name, and I got those opportunities, and they came in a lot of different ways. But I was prepared for them when they came. And I think, when you're talking about people that are successful, I think that's one of the big differences between people that are successful and not, is that they're ready when that opportunity. I think we all get opportunities, but we don't always recognize them, and we're not always ready for them.
When you talk about getting those opportunities, were you ready because of a childhood that was possibly tough, but your parents were on you all the time, or where you grew up, and or was it just the fact of you had a solid family setting there?
It's all the above. It was a tough household to grow up in. Um, you know, tough school. A lot of mixed races. So I think that was a positive
Mhm.
for me growing up, and I think that helps me through my life dealing with different races because I dealt with them as a kid, and I think that's why I got along with everybody over the years as a coach. But it was difficult, and I had to perform to feel comfortable in my own home. I mean, if I struck out a couple of times, it wasn't a pleasant household to be in. It wasn't a pleasant car ride. My name got spoke to for a week, and that's just kind of how it was in my household. So I kind of grew up with that pressure to perform. So it's either perform or you just kind of felt like a stranger in your own home at times. And so I was fortunate enough to be decent at just about everything I did. I wasn't perfect, but I worked extremely hard because working hard for me meant that I had to be out of the house and I had to go run and I had to go lift and all of those things that kept me away from that house. That was my safe place was actually outside my home.
So at Roland High School, were you a quarterback? Did you want to become a quarterback, or how did
No,
that?
when I first went there, I was a receiver. And I remember as a sophomore going out for the team, and I was running routes, throwing the ball back, and the coach said, he butchered my name, and he said, "Do you always throw the ball like that?" And I did not even thinking about it. I said, "I think so, coach." I was my best sport was probably baseball, and so they put me at quarterback, and that was it. And that's how I became a quarterback. I wasn't even looking to be the quarterback.
At your high school career, now you went to Mount San Antonio in California. Were you had bigger schools looked at you, or is it just the junior colleges?
No, no, no. I was at a small school. Our program wasn't very good. I was probably the first guy in 20 years and maybe for a 40-year span that got a scholarship out of football. And I didn't even get it out of that school. I had to go to Mount Sac Junior College and get it there. So, it was one of those places where I remember, we had some great football players and we had some that weren't committed, just like anywhere else. I remember I was always pumped up. I mean, game night for me, it was game night.
Right.
And we're marching up to the field, and you got that sense of pride, and you're waiting. They open that gate, man. You're waiting for that signal for them to let you run out there. And someone from the back of the pile says, "Where's the party tonight?" And I'm thinking, "Oh my God, we got to go win this football game, and we got that clown in the back, and we got to overcome ourselves, which is kind of what you have to do anyway." But I'm just glad no one answered him at that time.
So Minnesota brought you in. Was any other D1 programs looking at you, or was it just Minnesota?
I got letters from Wisconsin. Cal State Fullerton was one. Mariucci was a young offensive coordinator
Oh boy.
there, and he took me out to a Sizzler, which is it's all you can eat type of place, and said get whatever you want, Mike. I said okay,
Free meal's a free meal, Mike.
Yeah, right. And he was awesome, but I didn't want to go somewhere where somebody was new. You know what I mean? I took a chance. I went to Minnesota. The thing about Minnesota was I had to beat the head coach's son out, and that's a long story in itself.
Well, give me the Cliff Notes version. How was it playing for Joe Salem? I didn't know
Salem was.
I didn't know how you had to beat out his kid. So
Yeah,
that's a story.
He was amazing. And it had to be the hardest to say. I have a son who's a quarterback, so I know how tough that had to be. But when I went there, I got there, in the winter, got there early, and I was 7th on the depth chart, which surprised me. And I remember thinking, you got to be kidding me. Here I am up in snow for the first time. First place I ever flown was Minnesota. And I just thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to have to take this one day at a time. That's all it is. I couldn't control the other 6 dudes. I couldn't wish them to throw, interceptions. I had to make sure I was on point. And by the time spring ball was over, I was number 2. Okay, the head coach's son was still there. So I went home in the summer, worked my butt off, knew I was going to take this thing. And all through fall ball, getting ready for that first game against Purdue, I was still number 2. I'm thinking to myself, you got to be kidding me. I know I'm outperforming this kid. And, he was a solid kid. Believe me, super bright. He ended up being an offensive coordinator for the Buckeyes down the road. I mean, just, one of those type of kids, a brilliant kid. And I remember it was Monday, the week of the first game. We're in the weight room lifting, and I heard I was starting over the radio. And the weight room went crazy. And, we won our first game, and that was it. And that was history. And, we just ended up having a solid career. It wasn't perfect. We were outmanned a lot of the times. But, brother, I grew up playing very competitive football on the West Coast. So the Big Ten meant nothing to me. I knew nothing about the traditions of the Big Ten. I wasn't afraid of anybody out there. And when we went and beat Ohio State, I remember the sidelines, and we went ahead late in that game. And I remember the kids from Minnesota. They're going to come back. Art Schleicher was the quarterback. He always comes back. I'm thinking to myself, you got to be kidding me, because we hadn't beat Ohio State for 16 years. And then all of a sudden we beat them, and no one could believe it.
Biggest win in your college career against Ohio State?
Oh, easily. Probably in my life as a player. And then Minnesota didn't beat him for another 16. So for 32 years, that was it, brother. So that was a big win for us, no doubt.
And you went 6-5 in one year. You missed the bowl by one game. Was there an opportunity for you to go to a bowl game that year?
We had 3 games we lost by less than a touchdown. I mean, we beat Iowa, who ended up going to the Rose Bowl that year and losing. Beat Ohio State. We beat some pretty good football teams, and we lost some tough games. And on the road, we lost less than a touchdown, and it was disheartening, because I really thought that year when Iowa went to the Rose Bowl, we had a pretty good football team.
Well, how many bowls? There's like 65 of them now. You probably would have made
like 65 bowls.
I know. Like I'm saying, if you did it now, it would have been like the Oven Bowl or the Bake Muffin Bowl or whatever the hell, the Toilet Bowl.
We were trying to get to the Rose Bowl, brother.
Back in the day, it was called the NIC invite, and now it's called the Combine. Did you get invited to get looked at?
No, I didn't. My career kind of tailed off, and we had a ton of guys get hurt, and I got beat up, and just didn't have the second year that I would hope for. Started out great, but didn't finish great. And I was fortunate. I ended up getting an opportunity to play in the Hula Bowl, and Dan Marino was my roommate. Played with Kurt Warner, the tailback Kurt Warner from Penn State. You probably don't even know who that is.
Yeah,
and just some amazing football players. So I've had some great opportunities in my career, and that was the start of it, definitely.
Couple years in the USFL, and then a quick stop in the CFL. But talk about the emotions about donning the helmet for the charter franchise in the National Football League.
It was awesome. It was the off season, and I was bartending at a Ramada Inn, and it
like
was
Murph and the Magic Tones and the Blues Brothers, right?
It was a pretty dynamic place, and I remember it was one of those bars where they would every 45 minutes they shut down the bar and they turn on some music, and everyone that worked there had to do some kind of dance, line dance, skit type of thing. And we actually had to audition for these jobs. It wasn't just as pouring beer. We had to do skits and all that kind of stuff to see if we were even worthy of working at the Ramada bar. And I was one of the fortunate ones that made it. And I remember I came home. I got home at like 4:00 in the morning. When you're bartending, it takes forever to get home. And there was a message. I was renting a room from a guy who lived in a townhouse on the bar. I said, "Yeah, the Bears called you, and McCaskey wants you to call him tomorrow." And this guy was a cop, and I thought he's busting my balls about this thing. I said, "Yeah, whatever." And I did. I went to bed and woke up whenever I woke up. And he goes, "Hey, did you call the Bears back?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Was that real?" He goes, "Yeah, it was real." So I ended up calling him back, and it was during the strike of '87.
Right.
And they said they wanted you to come in, And I had been working out a little bit, but I'm trying to work, I'm trying to make a living, earn some money, pay for my insurance, whatever. And so I wasn't totally there, but I had about a week and a half to get ready. So I did a ton of throwing. I'd throw to anybody who would knock the ball down, and got myself ready. And all of a sudden, there I am sitting in the hotel. I went to Chicago O'Hare, right by the airport. There's a big hotel. They put us all in, and
Probably the Hilton.
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And the next day, all of a sudden, we're sitting in a big conference room, and there's Mike Ditka. And then we went from there.
So before working with him as one of the owners of the Chicago Rush, talk about playing for Mike Ditka.
He was incredible. My father was extremely tough on me when I played. So Ditka really didn't scare me. I had a lot of respect for him going in. And there was one day where he jumped me. I mean, real good. Made me feel, tried to make me feel real small. But before he left me, he said, "I've seen you do better. That's why I just got on you." He just didn't leave me there. He built me back up. And the one thing I do remember about Mike Ditka during that whole time, because I wanted to be a coach, I knew that eventually. That guy could have walked into anybody's meeting and took it over, man. He was brilliant. He was a great leader. He made us feel relevant. He made us feel like real Chicago Bears when we were there. And that's how we worked. You know how hard it is to learn a whole offense in time to play a game for a whole team, to go out there in front of a stadium. I don't care how many people were out there, man. You're still out there playing professional football and getting paid for it. And there was a lot of pressure. And, I thought he did a good job keeping us confident, teaching us the right way, giving us opportunities. He had to be Mike Ditka. And what I found out about a lot of those guys that had those personalities, that was for the camera. A lot of the personalities were for the camera, because those guys are all about business, man. They were smart. They worked hard. They were tough. And being great was very important to them. But, they also had to have their things going on the side, and I understand that too. But it was professional football in that building.
Not bad for 3 weeks, 92 quarterback rating with 4 touchdowns and an interception. Were you number one coming in when the Bears called you, or did you have to fight for the job? Who was with you at that time?
My roommate was Sean Payton.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yes. And
how about that? You beat Sean Payton out.
Well, he struggled with it. He really did. I remember we stayed up past midnight many times, and I was helping him with the playbook. And I don't know what he was just coming from, or if he had been training for football or not. But he was struggling with it, and we stayed up. And here we are. This guy's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's considered a genius by a lot of people, and deservingly so, because I think that guy put his time in. He coached under Parcells. That couldn't have been easy. He coached under some great football coaches and paid his dues, small colleges. And now he's still getting after it, man. I'm proud of him. He was an amazing kid. He played his role. He wanted to be great. You could see it in his eyes, man. He wasn't as talented, and that's probably why he's a great coach. He probably learned that at a young age, that I'm good, but I'm not professional good. And he got into what he needed to do, and now he's obviously thriving.
Parcells definitely a character. So Belichick, Ditka, Parcells, which coach would you feel more comfortable playing for?
Boy, Belichick, Ditka, Parcells. Man, Parcells is brilliant. I thought he was it. He was it before Belichick, in my opinion. But Ditka he was just always that guy. I don't think ever really got the respect as a coach for his mind and what he knew about the game and his ability to lead, all of those things. I don't think he got. I think Ditka, and he was good when he came on with the Rush as an owner. He was hands off. We asked him to speak. He didn't ask to speak to our players. We asked him to speak to our players. And he was very poignant about everything he said. And he let us do our job. He said, coaches coach, players play. I'm going to stay out of your way. You're a good football coach, and you got a good football team here. And, he knew when we were going to win it. He knew that year too, that we had a chance. And, it didn't look real pretty in the middle of the season. But, we weathered the storm, if you will, and came back and had a very special season.
Former head coach of the Chicago Rush, Mike Hohensee, joining me, and as well as former Chicago Bears quarterback, Spare Bears. Sometimes they called you the Scab Bears, but when I looked at some of the tape and heard some of the stories, and of course some of the big guys came back. They crossed the picket line to come back. They didn't want to sit out that long and play. Talk about, did you ever get a chance to talk with Steve McMichael at all, or when he was there? Talk about your experience with Steve McMichael.
When he was there, I think, he was coaching an indoor league.
Oh, the Slaughter. That's correct.
The Slaughter, yeah. So I had some interaction because all my players, because when we went on strike or the season ended, they took arena football away. I told all my players to go play there just in case arena football came back, you'd be in shape. But I said, if you're going to play there, you got to win it all. Otherwise, we're talking about arena football being a higher level of football than everyone else. You better go prove it. And they did.
Did you get a chance to talk to him? Did you get a chance to talk to him when you were with the Bears at all? Or was that when were you gone already?
No, we didn't really get a chance to talk to too many people. There was one guy, and it was Walter Payton. And it was as I was leaving the building for the last time, he was coming in, and I didn't want to make eye contact with nobody. Right. You know what I mean? It just, the strike was what it was. And I'm walking out. All of a sudden, he said, "Ho." That's what he said. He said, "Did a great job, man." And that was it. I think the guys that were smart that came back understood that we put them in a pretty good position when they came back because those games counted. We could have went 0-3, and we went 2-1 and kept them right there. They ended up going to the playoffs that year. And I think our wins made a difference.
On to play quarterback at the Pittsburgh Gladiators in a startup league, indoor league called the AFL, Jim Foster's AFL, because I don't talk about what's out there now. I think that product is garbage. I've got an opinion on it when we get down the line here. But along with the AFL Hall of Fame, your name's obviously etched in arena football history, and I'm sure you know why. First touchdown pass in league history. Do you remember who it was to?
Russell Harrison. He was a great receiver. His first play of the game. It was a little semi rollout to the right. He had a choice route based on how the defensive back was playing. And I kind of knew no matter how that guy was playing, he was going to run a go anyway. And he ran by him. I put it up there and kept it in the building, and he went and got it.
So your years as a professional quarterback were 5 years, kind of short if you look at it. But when did the thought of coaching start creeping in for you?
Oh, it was always there. I was coaching in the off seasons. I was volunteer coaching at high schools. I was coaching for socks and shorts at a junior college. I mean, I was kind of a football whore at that time. I was doing anything I could to stay in the game and play as a job. I worked construction. I did a lot of different things just to have money, some kind of money coming in, something that would help me stay in shape. And that's what I did.
So was there a chance for you to come back, or after 5 years you said, "Nah, I'm done. I want to get into coaching," or it just happened that way?
I hurt my neck.
Okay.
I hurt my neck late in my career. And at that time I decided, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. So that's when I started in arena football. And I believe, when was that? I believe it was 87, right in there, as an assistant for the Bruisers.
Oh, okay. Because as a coach, you're Washington Commanders in 1990.
Yeah. So like 80, maybe 88, 89, I was an assistant coach for the Bruisers. And I called the whole game. It was me and an older guy, and George Brancato. He's an old Canadian coach. And actually, I think he played for the old Chicago Bears when it was called something else. And
the Staleys.
He was awesome. And, my job for him, I had to make sure there was ice in the sink. Because we always went for a run early in the morning, no matter what happened the night before. And, George enjoyed his beer. So what I had to do is before we went on our run, I had to make sure the sinks in our hotel room had ice in them so we could put the beer in the sink, and they were cold for later in the day when we got back from the practices. And he coached the line, and I called the offense, the defense, and the special teams. Couldn't have been thrown into the fire any better than that, to learn the game, all phases of the game, get used to dealing with, when you're obviously special teams, you got to deal with everybody. And I think that really helped me, obviously, get me ready for everything I was going to have to do as an arena football coach.
How did the Chicago Rush come into play for you?
The Chicago Rush, I was actually out east, and I got a call from the owner about possibly taking the job. And, we had several talks and talked to my wife about it. We decided, we would have to make a certain amount of money if we were going to go all the way out there, and we had a child. And they ended up paying it for us. And, it wasn't a lot then. I mean, it was a lot then, but it's not a lot now. But it got us out there and got us rolling, and we were more comfortable bringing 2 small kids out there with us out to Chicago. And the ownership was fantastic. I mean, fantastic. They treated my family tremendously, my wife with total respect. And then, you go there, and we really didn't have a GM at that time. It was, when I first got the job, there really wasn't a GM. It was, they were looking for one. And then all of a sudden, Mike Polisky comes into play. And, he was perfect. He really was. Kind of a strange cat when you first meet him, but had a different type of personality, sense of humor, and brilliant in his own right. And really did a good job, I thought, building that program up, because it's not easy starting something up in Chicago, man. We had to win, and we had to win pretty, and we had to get it out in the community. We had to be relevant, and that took a lot of work from a lot of good people.
I think the fans here in Chicago were thirsty, and that's my next question. In your tenure here, 9 consecutive playoff appearances, 5 conference final appearances. This is a team that was able to hit a nerve with a fan base that was disgruntled with the team on the lakefront. Why do you think that happened?
We scored a lot of points. We had some great personalities too. You know what I mean?
Right.
We won. We won on the road. We brought a championship there. We got out in the community. We were on TV. We did everything that we possibly could, and that kept me away from my family a little bit more than I was comfortable with at first. But in the end, it was worth it, to build up that brand. And they knew exactly what they were doing. We ended up being the face of arena football. It was Discover Card. We did all those commercials, and so
right.
That wasn't just us winning. That was Polisky in that front office doing some amazing things there too.
You also had some great talent that came about, but it's in a couple of years. It's going to be 20 years since you won the championship, and I go back and I watched the championship video, just to pull some information out. But I can't recall a team in any sport that lost 6 in a row in the middle of the season, then ran the table to win 6 in a row to win a championship under 500. Talk about that team specifically. I know you said that's probably the most talented team you've ever coached.
Well, we were very talented, but, a lot of us were new to each other. We didn't get Scipio to the end. You know what I mean?
That was a huge move. And he might have not got you the championship, but he got you to the championship, I think. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think he made us all believe that we could win. Okay. But, we started off at a couple wins, and then, it felt pretty good. And then we started losing people. And, what we did as a team, we understood how good we were and how good we could be. And I said, we've got to keep working. I mean? So so when they get back and they get healthy, there's something to play for. Okay. And we can't create all these bad habits just because we're losing people. That's actually giving people opportunities that we're going to need down the road to perform for us in critical situations. And that's kind of how it worked. We got a lot of guys hurt. And it's like, oh my God, we could have sat there and felt sorry for ourselves, or we go out there, bust our butt, and become the warriors and competitors that we were. And that's what we had to be. We had to be both of those things to win the way we did, because we had a tough schedule, man, towards the end, and we had to run the tape. We had to win 3 in a row just to get in the playoffs as the last seed, and then we win 4 in a row on the road to win the Arena Bowl. And, that wasn't a cakewalk, man. We had to work for it, but I'm going to tell you what, we knew we were going to win it. When we got in the playoffs, we knew.
I think
we were as confident as anybody.
Yeah, I think it was that game against Colorado, and it's the confetti game the year before, and then the McMillan penalty, I think, cost you guys the title because they came back and just threw the ball up, and I think Damian Harrell scored the touchdown. But you look at the moves you made, very subtle. I mean, Scipio was the stud, but you brought in Jeremy Unertl. Kareem Smith suddenly exploded. John Morey was solid in his job. But one person I want to talk about is Dewan Alfonso. Came in and played both ways all game and made some pretty big plays down the stretch to get you guys in the playoffs.
Got him off the waiver wire, man. Smart football player, okay? We get Scipio off the waiver wire. Smart football player, all right? Now, he came with some baggage.
Right.
All right. And him and I all had a talk before he even got here about that baggage. And I let him know that baggage is there. He knew the baggage was there. He ain't no dummy. But I told him, I said, you're coming here, man, with 2 strikes on you. All right. And I think with you, we have a chance to run the table and win some football games and maybe win a championship. He goes, Coach, I ain't trying to get to Chicago. Okay. I said, well, I wasn't trying to get to Chicago either, but I'm here. And I'm trying to bring you with me. And I said, if you come here, once we get you here, I just want you to conform to what we're doing because we really have a team that has a chance to win. I know you ain't been following Chicago. You're trying to get somewhere else, and that's part of his personality. He ain't stupid. He was working the waiver wire,
right?
Okay, but he doesn't understand. We worked the waiver wire the year before and made a trade with somebody that we knew was going to have a losing team, and we traded spots, and we got to pick when we got their spot. So when he came up, we switched spots on the waiver wire, and we picked up Scipio. And I didn't want him initially. My assistant coaches said, we got to take him. We got to take him. And that's when I said, I'm going to let my hair down, and we're going to go get this guy.
I just don't. I watched, several. I mean, obviously, your entire tenure here, when the rush folded, when Bobby Scipio came, I didn't see anybody in AFL history who had command and was that dominant as a receiver. If you know anybody, let me know. But I don't think anybody.
Eddie Brown was there.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But and the common trait between both of them was intelligence. Incredible competitors, okay? Eddie Brown was probably a little harder worker in practice than Scipio was, okay? But Scipio did what he had to do, okay, to keep practice going well, all right? Because I tell you what, he might have broken a lot of egos if he did what he does in games in practice every day, all right? But, he was ready. He was so dang smart. I remember in practice, he'd run a post and he'd point in during his route, he'd point where the quarterback should be throwing the ball. That's how smart that kid was. Okay. And I don't know if he was putting on an act for everybody else because he wanted to be perceived a certain way, but I knew he was the smartest guy on the field.
I just saw the fear in defensive backs that tried to cover this guy, especially in your championship run. So the league stopped in 2009. I've got my opinions on why it stopped. I think that they brought in too many, like Bon Jovi. This clown doesn't know anything about football. Ron Jaworski's a football guy, but I think too many people had their fingers in the pie and spoiled it for everybody. And when you returned in 2010, did you notice a change in excitement in the way the AFL was from before?
Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't the following. I mean, when you got a league like that, even though we had been around a while, it's that trust factor. How are you going to trust it? You know what I mean? Because people put their hearts and soul into that thing and bought jerseys and everything that goes with it. Being a great fan, our fans were rabid. I mean, we had standing room only at the Allstate Arena, and
loud.
You can't just take that away and expect everybody to come back. We had some very, very loyal fans that did come back, but it was never the same. It was never the same. We tried. It's not for not trying. We did try, but it was different ownership commitment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And owners do make a difference. Okay. We did it the right way. You know what I mean? But we took the money. They gave us all the money we needed legally. Okay. And I can't say that about everyone else that played in the league. Maybe a handful of teams that won the Arena Bowl during that tenure before the league folded did it legally, but a majority of them didn't. And we were one of them that did it the right way.
Your 3 reigns toward the end of your coaching career, Philadelphia, Iowa, and Portland, were probably the worst stretch of your head coaching career.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel the new AFL kept away some good talent?
Oh, a ton of it. We got some good talent. There's tons of talented guys out there. There was zero depth. You had zero depth, and it was hard to go out there and find good coaches consistently because I'm telling you, brother, just the pay just wasn't the same. Like I said, you get what you pay for a lot of times. And it's not that these guys didn't try or they didn't work hard, but, can they call a game? Can they handle the pressure of that? Can they deal with coaching a group of players that maybe aren't as talented as they used to be? Or you're just going to throw your hands up and say, I can't coach these guys. And, I thought some organizations handled it much better than ours did. And I was at a couple places where it was very tough, very tough. And, Philadelphia was one of them. We had 1 year there, and then they made a change, and Dozell came in and did a good job. He was able to bring all the Dallas players with him, which I thought was a tremendous help. We had to try to build a team with the $200 a week or whatever we were trying to pay those players. And then went to Portland, and that was just a disaster. And I'll tell you what, the thing about that was a shame. There was some great people there. It just the ownership wasn't one of them.
So the common denominator here is ownership.
Ownership.
Yeah.
The best ownership group I had ever, we won a championship with.
The Levins.
They
yes.
understood it. They never asked why. We need this. We need that. Okay. I never went to them and said, I want this. I just said what I needed. I didn't ask for everything.
I interviewed Bob McMillan a couple of weeks ago. He's had some really good things to say about you, especially in that 06 championship run. Asked him, which coach stands out, and he said you, simply because of your belief in the way you were able to motivate and keep guys together and put guys together. And I told him the apple doesn't really fall far from the tree because he's got some kids who are playing. His son TJ is with Illinois, and I told him that the apple's on the branch right next to him. Now, last time I saw you and talked to you, and I saw this kid, it was in 2011. We called him Little Mikey Ho. Well, I mean, he's not little anymore. Division II, Northwest Missouri State, and just got invited to Dallas's rookie camp. Talk about how proud you are for him, not so much to fill your shoes, Mike, but I think making his own shoes.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The kid's a worker. He's extremely smart. He's way better quarterback than I ever was. I'm going to tell you that right now. He's a gamer. He's smarter than I was as a player. I think he's been around some good coaches, and that's helped him. But he's put the work in, and he fell in love with the weight room. He fell in love with the film room. All those other rooms people avoid sometimes, especially at that position. And, now this is a kid that's getting ready to play professional football somewhere. And, he went to the Cowboy rookie camp and had a great camp. And I forget exactly what McCarthy said about him, but something like, he's never seen a rookie command the huddle the way this kid has.
Yeah.
He said ever. And, coming from McCarthy, who's been around a little bit and has some pretty good football players, right there, that tells you about Mikey Ho. That's him in a nutshell. He's obviously a good quarterback. He can throw it. His stats were really good, in college. But how he commands it, he's been a winner everywhere he's gone. And he's loved everywhere he goes. And he's just one of those kids. If you got him on your team and you take a chance on him, he's never going to disappoint you.
Now, if you didn't play quarterback and you just were a coach, do you think he would take that quarterback way, or would he go somewhere different, or maybe just want to coach like you? Did you push him
Well,
into? Did you push him into that when you were coaching him when he was
it's
younger?
funny you say that. Me pushing him into anything. Every year he played youth football. Before he went out for the tryouts, I told him, I said, Mikey, you don't have to play football. Don't you dare play football because Daddy plays football.
Right.
Play football. He said, if you don't want to play it, we'll join up for something else and we'll do something else. There's plenty of fun things to do. But if you sign up for it, we're going to finish it. Okay. And he told that story his junior year in college on a radio interview that I heard. And they said, do you feel the pressures of playing since your dad played professional football? And he told that story. So, the kid remembered. He was probably more relaxed than everybody else out there. Everyone thought, I'm all over this kid, this and that. No, man, I wanted him to play for the right reasons and have fun doing it. And I'm telling you, there's probably no one who smiles more playing football on his teams than he does.
Oh, yeah. I remember him when he was a little kid running around Allstate, throwing a ball around. I mean, I knew something was going to happen. It was inevitable. I just didn't think, and this is no slight against him or you, I just didn't think he would explode like he did. I mean, and it's almost a similar situation to the Bears backup quarterback, Tyson Bagent. I mean, he came out of nowhere. Mikey Hoke can do the same thing, possibly with the Cowboys or somebody else.
No doubt. As a matter of fact, Mikey's sophomore year, he had better stats than Bagent. Mikey led the nation in percentage and efficiency. So, he could play with the big boys. There's no doubt about it. And there's never been, if you go back and watch and look at the stats and you go back and watch some of the close games, I can't tell you how many last second shots, touchdown passes, come from behind wins this kid's had. He just loves that because that's how we trained. We'd go shoot baskets, and the last thing we did were 3, 2, 1 shots. Okay. Then we go throw, and then the last thing we did, here's the Hail Mary. Or we'd go there, or the last thing we did was go punt because he was also the punter in college. So, the last thing we do at punt, I put the cone out there 40 yards, and before we put the ball bag back in the back of the truck, we'd kick 15 punts. And that's what he did growing up. Became the punter in high school, hardly kicked because he was the quarterback. Then goes there, hardly gets any kicks in practice, and probably holds at least 3 punting records at that college. So he's just one of those kids. He's a competitor. He's a gym rat. You put me in the game, coach. It's going to be okay type of kid.
Is it a quarterback or nothing for this kid, or if a team calls up and says
he's a quarterback?
So no receiver, no special teams if the team calls him up.
So. I don't think that's the route anyone would look at him at right now. Not that he couldn't, but I think he has a chance to be a very good quarterback, and he could play at that level. Is he going to be a Hall of Famer in the NFL? Probably not. No, but I think he can make a squad. And I think he's one of those guys, if he's got the right system, he'll learn it and he'll never disappoint you. He's always going to be ready to go in the game.
That glow, that father beam is coming off of you. I can see it. Did you see it when he started playing as he was going up through the ranks, getting older? Obviously, he was so small. I saw him in a picture with you when he was wearing the pads. The pads were like 6 times bigger than he was. And now he's grown up. But, did you know that there was something special about this kid, or when did you know there was something special?
I knew there was something special about him when he was a child, and it wasn't necessarily about sports. I thought the kid could be president of the United States. I just thought he had a way of connecting people. I thought he was a gentle soul. He was always that kid growing up that saw somebody over there playing by himself, and he'd go invite that kid to come play, and didn't have to tell him to do it. I mean, he did it on his own. So, he just – all of a sudden he was president at his elementary school. He got to be principal for a day, fit right in the chair, brother. And, just then you could just see it in him that people loved him. People followed him. And I doubt that's going to happen, the president thing. But that's what I thought early on. I just thought he had that kind of charisma to him and that kind of love for people. He was just, like I said, he's just a gentle soul. Still is. He's still that way.
All right, let's put your coach's hat on. Speaking of quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, Justin Fields. In my opinion, Fields had a garbage offensive coordinator, similar to Jay Cutler with his issues with 6 and 10 years. What were the factors on film that made the Bears go with Williams instead of giving Fields a shot with the talent they acquired?
I think they wanted to get their own guy in there. I think Fields, didn't do a great job when he needed to do a great job. I think Fields is a better athlete than Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams is a better quarterback than Justin Fields.
What did you see in Justin? For me, and I don't study the game as much as you do. Obviously, you're the expert.
I just don't think he saw it.
His footwork? Footwork was not good. No,
saw it. No, he was an athlete. He could throw the ball as well as anybody out there.
Right.
He could run as well as anybody out there. He didn't see it. Every once in a while, he had certain plays where it was like, okay, you could throw to this guy or nothing, and those were the good ones for him. But when he had to go multi-layered reads, that's when he got in trouble. That's when he started scrambling. That's when he got hurt, and all of those things. Okay, he worked his butt off. I've seen the kid work out, works his butt off. Okay, wants to be great, but sometimes like I said, the mind part of the game is huge, and he's much more talented than many of the guys that are going to be in the Hall of Fame that have played lately. And I doubt he gets in the Hall of Fame because of that. And I just don't think he sees the game the way you have to. Some of these guys just see it, and I don't even know if they know what they're seeing. Okay, but they just have that kind of vision and intuition.
Right.
And I think Caleb Williams is one of those guys. And physically and stature, size, height, everything, he isn't Justin Fields. No doubt about it. But for a shorter quarterback, and he's shorter, he ain't 6'3". I think he sees the field pretty well. And when he scrambles, I think he's smarter with the ball. And I think what he does have is he has multiple touches and layers on his passes, where I think Justin Fields was a hardball thrower.
So what you see as a big pro for Caleb here for the Bears would be his vision, being able to read.
His vision, instincts. I think he understands the type of ball, and not only does he understand the type of ball that needs to be thrown, he has the capability to throw the type of ball that's needed. Where I think Justin Fields, for the most part, was a hardball thrower.
Rumors are that the Rush are going to return in 2025. Have they reached out to you, and would you consider coming back and coaching this team?
No. They reached out to me last year, and I asked a lot of questions that didn't get answers, and it came from the top, not the top of the Rush, but the top of the league. And I think some of those people got taken care of before the season was over. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people paid the price for some things that were going on. But right now, I don't think so. And I wasn't going to come on as a coach for them. I was going to come on as a consultant. And the guy that bought the team, him and I talked a lot. And I like him. I think he's a good guy. And but there was just too many questions I asked him that he went and asked people in the league, and he couldn't get answers. And that's why they didn't play last year. He was uncomfortable with it. So, he announced there was going to be a rush, but they were not going to play until 2025, and I thought he made a great decision. Obviously now, the way things turned out.
And I haven't heard anything that they are coming in 2025. I've did some research. I can't find anything what's going on except a website with here's your email, contact us, we'll get back to you. Mike, best advice you've gotten personally and professionally in your life?
Wow. Professionally, do what you love. And that's what I'm doing. I was 4 years ago, I was working for a restoration company for a good friend of mine, and it was going okay, but I was working for a restoration company. I was doing sales, and that's not who I was. And on the side, I was still coaching kids individually, and I kind of called it date money, for Deb and I to go out and, go to a nicer place.
You better take her out somewhere.
A nicer place. Yeah, she deserves it. No doubt about it. And, and again, Deb's a hospice nurse, and it got to the point where she came home and she says, you know what? I'm taking care of a lot of people our age and family structure and all that. And so we just started talking. It was like, you know what? Maybe I should go back and get back into football because I wasn't happy with what I was doing. It wasn't like I was depressed, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. So I took what I was doing part-time with these kids on the weekend, and I started my own company. And that's Coach Ho's quarterback training and receiver training. And going into my 4th year, and I couldn't be in a more perfect lane. I wish I had started this 2010. I really do. It's perfect. I love the families I work with. I love the players. I think there's a lot of good quarterback guys out there doing this kind of thing, but they're trainers. They're not coaches. And I think when people come to me, they're getting me. I don't have assistants. I have at least 150 families I send schedules to every week. No one else sends them. I send them. And when they come to my sessions, I coach them. And it's not like I don't show up and I go somewhere else. And Steve, a good guy that knows a little bit about it, comes and coach these kids. They get me, and they get the Coach Ho experience. And I coach these kids like they're my son. And they know that. And I tell them that. I said, you know what? I'm teaching you right now, and I'm talking to you just like I would be talking to my son. Don't ever take it personally, because you and me are a team right here. And you told me you want to be great, and we're going to do everything to get you to that point.
Oh, you certainly have the credentials, so I don't see anybody kind of like throwing their nose up and you're like, yeah, Mike's full of shit. I just, again, you've been in this game for 40 some years, 21 as a head coach, but I'm going to give you a long question here. You mentioned your wife, Deb. Back when you gave your speech about winning the Arena Bowl, you spoke about faces being blurred on the journey except for one, and that was your wife, Deb. Kind of got a little bit emotional. And I asked Bob McMillan this as well. And did it make your journey in playing, coaching, and mentoring a lot easy with a spouse who stands not behind you, but right next to you?
No, I went to her for advice a lot of times. I needed somebody I could trust to answer my questions, because when you're the head guy, a lot of people say what you want them to, what they think you want to hear. Okay, so it's, when they say it's lonely at the top, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's tough to get an honest answer. So I knew I was going to get that when I came home. When I asked a question, and, when the kids were asleep, and, we were together and talking about life, career, whatever it was, I knew I was going to get a straight answer from her, because really, I think she helped me make decisions that were best, not only for my career, but for our family as well, which was extremely important. And it was extremely hard when arena football went away, because arena football went away, and I went from being one of the highest paid coaches in arena football history to trying to figure out unemployment, how I was going to get that $500 check. Okay. And at the same time, I'm getting calls from everybody, because I'm still a lot of people's head coach at that point, and trying to get them through this. And I'm looking across the table at my wife, and we just bought a home, our dream home, and I'm collecting unemployment. And how are we going to make that payment for that home that we just filled with furniture off a loan from the team that we had to pay back after we bought the furniture? We had to pay that back. So now all of a sudden, brother, we're in a place.
Yep.
Okay. And my wife did an amazing job, and, we made it work. And right now, I don't think we've ever been happier. We both are great at what we do. She's an unbelievable hospice nurse. Brother, if you're going, she's the one you want there. She's an educator. She teaches nurses. She has sit downs with the families. She walks into so many situations that none of us would ever want to walk into. If you know anything about hospice, you don't want to be there. And,
probably could have used her 7 years ago when Dad passed, and we talked about this off air. Yeah,
she's the person walking into the fires, walking towards the bullets, and it's a blessing to those families that they have Deb Hohensee with them. I promise you that.
How many years?
32.
32, my high school and college playing number. Good number. Good job. Congratulations, man.
Awesome.
A couple more questions before we take a break and then go to our final segment called In a Word. Starting in November for me is my 41st year as a basketball official, high school and college. What I've seen in the last 10 years, 15 years, the level of disrespect from the kids and the parents, especially at the AAU level. Did you see that when Mikey was starting? And if you did, what message do you give these kids as they progress through their career and they get older and maybe start wanting to, speak up and, push their chest out and may get an attitude. How do you deal with that?
It's just got to be a consistent message, and it's got to be daily. I mean, as soon as we won the championships, my first meeting with them coming back was exactly that. We can't sit here and push our chests out. That championship is different. This is a different team. We don't have that same roster. We got new people coming in hoping to be part of that same team. We lost people that aren't here anymore that were big for us as far as winning a championship. And it's the same thing growing up right now. I mean, you got to have a consistent message and you got to stand by it. And it's not always going to be tough. And you're going to get the rolled eyes and you're going to get the headphones being put on their ears. Okay. But you got to keep showing up. And, it wasn't my son wasn't easy to raise all the time. My daughter wasn't easy to raise, but we were there and we never left them. And sometimes the hardest room in the house was walking into my daughter's room when she was growing up at night to say goodnight and tell her I love her. Sometimes it was like walking into the exorcist room.
Really?
Okay? But I kept walking in and I kept telling her I love her. And even if I had used a tone, even if I got mad at the kids earlier in the day, I always went in there. And if I thought that they ever felt that I didn't love them, I apologized. I didn't apologize for what I said, but maybe for the way I said it. And I think that helped because I think they're both adults now that have no problem saying they're sorry. Okay. And they're treating people the right way and saying thank you and all of those things you hope your kids to grow up. I would be friends with my kids. If I didn't know my kids and I met them, I would be friends with them. And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I can't believe Kayla's 30 years old. Jesus, I'm old.
Yeah.
Man, that makes you really old. But I just like,
All
wow.
of that is true.
Remember her and Mikey running around. I look back and those days it was fun. Football was fun. It was going to see Rush games, even though I covered it. And I'm gonna tell you something. I might just get on the box here and say, my show was always the one that promoted and had you on. And the only time that the big networks came on is when all of a sudden you're going to the Arena Bowl and now we're going to shove a microphone in Mike Hohensee's face. But, I really appreciated you coming on and realizing that, we gave you your 15, 20 minutes to talk about the game and promote, even though I feel personally that I didn't get any love from some of the people in the organization that I should have, but that's a story for another day. The credo that you have on your website, it's hashtag having the most fun. Talk about that.
That's what I want people that are around me to do. I mean, I put some kind of inspirational or constructive post out every morning. And I usually come up with those posts the night before or the 2 days before. So I go to bed with something positive going through my head. And then as soon as I wake up, before I go use the men's room, I put that post out. So I end my day and I start my day with something positive. And that helps me. That's therapeutic for me. And I know it helps people out there. It doesn't help the masses. That doesn't bother me, but I know it helps some people. And I'm going to keep doing it. And I think if we can't have fun in this life, what's worth living? If you're not having fun at what you do, and I'm not having fun at what are we doing out here? If I can't promote fun and having fun, people say, "Oh, football's not fun. We're not going to have fun." Football can be fun. You find ways to make it fun. Okay. If you can't find ways to make it fun, you're making an excuse for your inability to make something out there pleasurable, where people can have fun doing it together, where like it used to be when we grew up. I think we had a ton of fun, but you don't see kids outside having fun no more. The kids don't go outside as much as they did. They don't interact with each other and joke around. Now, all of a sudden, it's through social media. You're doing all the joking around, and now, people kind of hide behind that, and it's really not as truthful as they say it is. People hide behind that, and that bothers me sometimes because I get a chance to work with the families that I have. And like I said, I think there's other good coaches out there, and I don't go out there and try to take their players either. I've been accused of that, but I don't. I consider myself a good steakhouse. Okay. They got a steakhouse over there. And someone drives up to my steakhouse and they look at my menu and they order a steak, brother, I'm cooking them a steak. And I'm going to do it my way. Okay. And if they like that and they want to come back, I'm going to serve them another steak. And I don't care what they do. They can go back and eat that one every once in a while. If they want to come back and eat mine, I'm going to be there. And I'm going to do it the right way. And I don't badmouth anybody. Not a soul. Matter of fact, the other guys are wrestling right now in Chicago. I wouldn't be surprised if they're wrestling right now, okay? And I stay in my lane. I don't talk to them, okay? I don't say anything bad. I like sometimes watch them on social media wrestle with each other. I think that's kind of cool, okay? But I'm having a blast. I really am having a blast. And it's a dynamic. I tell you, the dynamic in our household is crazy because that's how I feel when I come home. And you know what my wife does when she come home. Okay. So it's my job to try to put a smile back on that woman's face and get her back in the right frame of mind. Okay. Because of what she does. I mean, and I do understand what she does. That's why, I got to be the one sometimes to say, hey, let's be the ones having the most fun.
Miss those brownies from 9 years of her coming to the Rush games that she used to make. Yeah.
She was so good at it, and we have a son with a nut allergy. She'd make 2 batches, the ones that had the nuts in them and the ones that didn't.
So far, the Rush women, Joni McMillan and Deb Hohensee, I tell you what, the 2 strongest women that, you never mess with. Deb wasn't
right.
I don't know, was Deb an athlete at all? Or because Joni was an athlete, but Deb wasn't. So
Deb's a workout person.
Okay.
I met her in the gym. Okay.
Did you put on a smooth move, Mike? Did you give her?
York, I'm trying to mind my own business. And she picks me up. And, but now, we still walk together. She still works out in the basement, does yoga, does a lot of different things with the small weights, and we're up there in age, and I think we're doing better than most our age. And, we have some of our best talks are on our walks around the neighborhood. And, I hope we keep doing that forever.
Love at first sight for you or for her?
I think more me.
Yeah. Did you come in?
She says she liked my legs.
Okay.
And, I liked the way we did step class together. And I hear, woo, woo, when she was jumping up on the step, I kind of like that. So, we kind of had her.
You got to be kidding me. Oh, my God. Oh, former Chicago Rush head coach Mike Hohensee and Chicago Bears quarterback and also proprietor of Coach Ho's Quarterback Wide Receiver Training Academy. Our final feature is called In a Word. I'm going to give you some phrases, some names. If you can answer it in a word, fine. But if you need to expand, be my guest. All right?
Okay.
All right. First question, Mike Hohensee. In a word, mentoring.
Wow. I think it's right now my life purpose. I think early on I was a son, became a husband and a father, and I'm still all of those things. But right now I have 150 plus families that are counting on me to help their sons and their daughters try to fulfill their dreams, to try to feel relevant, to try to feel important, to kind of help them when they get their opportunity to shine a little bit. And not everybody's going to be as bright as the other one, but you give them a chance to go out there and enjoy the sport because they all love the sport. Okay. And what I try to do is keep giving them reasons to love it and love it even more. I don't want to be that guy that discourages it and makes them quit. There's plenty of coaches out there like that. Okay. But there's also plenty of coaches like me out there trying to help these kids. And I'm proud that I believe I'm one of them.
It's also easy to celebrate and enjoy winning, but I think that probably you throw a little bit of work into having some dignity if they lose as well, correct?
Oh, no doubt about it. They'll lose a rep in our session, and we talk about dealing with that. So it's, it's not all about just winning football games, man. We're dealing with failure all the time. And I'm sweating more than anybody during these sessions. And we talk about everything. I overcoach. If I do anything, I overcoach because the silence kills me for these kids, and I want them to feel comfortable in their own skin. And most kids do not feel comfortable in their own skin. And sometimes it starts on the car ride to my session. And then sometimes it extends all the way back to their house. And I'm not saying everybody, but I grew up that way. No way I wanted to get in that car and go to where I was going there.
Right.
Sure the heck didn't want to go back through those doors where they could close them and say whatever they wanted to me, so I want these kids to feel good about themselves. And if I have a chance to do that, then it's going to happen.
Number 2, in a word with Mike Hohensee, playing and coaching in Chicago.
Amazing. I think we fulfilled expectations in so many ways. We won a championship. We went out in the communities, and I don't think we just put time in the communities. I thought we connected with communities, and that's why we're able to pack the house. And I think our Chicago Rush fans were extremely proud. And not only that, I think our league was proud of us. And that was because a lot of people did a lot of hard work, and a lot of people in Chicago trusted us with their families to come out there and cheer us on, knowing that we were going to give them our best effort.
I want you to go back now from the beginning when you started playing football. In a word, number 3, the coaches in your playing career.
I can't give one word. I had one great coach. He was the toughest on me, and that was my dad. I had a lot of other guys that were not qualified, but they showed up and gave us a chance. Okay. And that's tough to say because there's a lot of real bad youth football coaches out there. And without them showing up, those kids don't even have a chance to figure that out. And sometimes getting an opportunity to go out there, even if it's not always great and those coaches aren't qualified all the time, at least those kids get a chance to get out there. And maybe they getting away from a family situation like I had to get away from sometimes, and they go out there and maybe they find their own way to have fun, even though maybe that coach is struggling. I mean, these guys are coming from work and trying to make it happen. These kids are getting off school. Everyone's tired getting back together and trying to do something the right way. So I appreciate all of those coaches.
2 more as we do in a word with Mike Hohensee. Mike, number 4, in a word, family.
Everything. Every day. Every day. The first thing I want to know is, how's my wife doing? She's out there drinking her coffee, or I'm up first drinking my coffee. I hope she has a great day. We always talk to each other in the morning. We kiss each other goodbye. We check on each other often during the day, and it's kind of tough sometimes because she is a hospice nurse, so it's tough to make that call sometimes. But every once in a while, I'll send a text, and if I don't get something back right away, I understand why. But we're always checking on our kids. I meet my daughter for lunch all the time. And like I said, there was a couple of years there where, it wasn't easy to eat dinner when she lived in her own house, let alone go across town now and meet her for lunch. So, I really enjoy that. I love talking to my son about his journey and his girlfriend, who he probably will end up marrying down the road. And she and her family is awesome. So we're in a good place. I got my son living in California with my 2 grandkids, and I just got a chance to spend a week with them, just me. I went out there by myself because my wife couldn't get away, and just had the time of my life. So, my best experiences are my family. I mean, if I could have people around this table that I wanted to eat my last meal with, and I could pick anybody in the world, it would be my family.
Last question for you, Mike, in a word. What you would think and what other people would think about Mike Hohensee's legacy?
Honest. I think they understand that my work ethic, I showed up every day and worked hard towards putting the best product out there, trying to be fair with my players. And it probably, some of them that I had to let go probably didn't feel I was fair, but a lot of them that I gave a second and third chance to probably did. And I hope they think of me, no matter what my record was, as a winner, because that's how I approached it. That's how I try to treat everybody, from the guy running the radio program to the guy selling tickets, to the guy taking tickets at the door.
He is the man who heads Coach Ho's quarterback and wide receiving trainer academy. He's the former Chicago Bears quarterback from 1987 and world champion head coach for the Chicago Rush. Mike Hohensee, let's not wait 12 years to talk again and do something like this. Okay, my friend?
Sounds great, my friends.
It's always good. It was always good talking to you.
For having me on.
Yeah, I want to come out to the camp, and you and I need to talk about some things. Obviously, we talked off mic before, but
yeah, there won't be no talking. You're gonna have to throw the ball, brother. We're gonna have to. Get
you know what? Listen. How many times did I come on a field and say I want to try out? I thought I maybe could be Matt DeRazio's backup. You know, but I never got an opportunity. Maybe
we never had a waiver in hand. Okay, we were going to have you sign a waiver before you did.
You know what? I could still throw the ball, so I would love to do it, and I would love to have Mikey on the show as well and talk about his journey. I think it'd be an interesting talk. But best to you and Deb, Kayla, and Mike. It's great talking to you. Continued success, because like I said, I've been following you. I see your messages on LinkedIn. I got you on Instagram now. You want to plug your academy and any specials going on or anything you're doing as football season is ramping up here? Anything you want to talk about?
It's all special. It's special every day. I think, one of the things that we're adding right now, and, is Mikey Ho is doing a film room board work over Zoom, and he's got 10 quarterbacks already, and we haven't even advertised it. This thing's going to blow up as far as that goes. He's brilliant. I sat in with him on a session the other day, and he exceeded my expectations. I mean, when McCarthy talks about, a kid like that, there's some truth to that. He went into that camp, went into the meeting room. They put him up on the board, said, draw these 2 plays, which he only had 2 days to get ready for a playbook. And drew him up there. He said, we don't need you on the board no more. He crushed it. He crushed it. That kid was holding, this is the thing is, he was holding meetings in the lobby of the hotel at 10 o'clock at night with the number 1 draft picks on offense, with all the offensive guys going over the plays for the next day and the script for the next day, getting these guys ready. He had no business doing that. And he was the most comfortable guy in the room. And Mikey Ho, for those rookies, was their first quarterback. And those guys will never forget him, because I know he did a good job.
Anybody who wants to get in touch with you, get up to your academy, how do they get in touch with you?
They can go through CoachHo.com.
I'll follow you on Instagram as well. Is that okay?
Follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on just about everything, brother.
Okay.
I got a social media company, Media Wolf, that does a tremendous job for me. And they put a lot of work in. Most of my posts that are personal, I put up there, but they do a lot of the videos that go up, and they do all the editing and everything, and they put a lot of time in. They do a great job.
Mike, thanks so much for your time. Continued success, my friend, and you and I will talk soon.
Look forward to it.
Take care.
Thank you.
That was Mike Hohensee, former Rush head coach, Chicago Bears quarterback, and owner of Coach Ho's quarterback and wide receiving training camp. Always great to talk to him. You can reach him at CoachHo.com, on Instagram at Coach Hohensee if you're interested in getting to that academy. And let me tell you something. If you got young kids who want to learn about football, he's the man to make it happen. Great guy. Always good to talk to him. We're definitely not going to wait 12 more years to talk to him. I'm going to come back with a final thought right after this.
Brought to you by Team Keys and your financial services division manager, Whitley Brooks Edmondson, and Slugmaster, turning batters into hitters. Log on to slugmaster.com for a dealer near you.
A quick final thought here. Just want to throw a shout out to the Senator Bob Morrow. He's got a procedure that he's going in for next week, hopefully to get things taken care of so we don't have to deal with this anymore. Get well soon, my friend. I need my driver to take me to my games. So good luck to you, and rest and recuperate. And we got games starting up in November. So get well soon, my friend. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and that notification button. All our social media links on the bottom in the description, including Coach Hohensee's training academy, coachho.com, and his Instagram, Coach Hohensee, as well. If you have a show idea, throw us in the comments or hit me on the email, btmchgo@gmail.com. For all of us here at Behind the Mic, we thank you for watching. Good night.
Behind the Mic has been brought to you by Team Keys and your financial services division manager, Whitley Brooks Edmondson, specializing in affordable insurance and investments. Team Keys, keep elevating yourself. Call 248-403-0919 to book your appointment. And Slugmaster, turning batters into hitters. Log on to slugmaster.com for a dealer near you. Behind the Mic is a Duty Go production, produced by Z-Force Media. Stage manager is Heather Marie. The executive producer of Behind the Mic is Eric Ferguson.